Up with KREM begins now.
Thanks so much for joining us here on Up with KREM. I'm Tim Pham. We also want to welcome you in if you're streaming us on KREM 2+. Let's start off this Tuesday morning by getting you out the door and ready for the day with meteorologist Thomas Patrick. So Thomas, you're tracking a lot going on. Rain, snow, but especially in the morning right now, that snow, some of it is freezing over again.
Yeah, let's start with today because you've got it exactly right, Tim. Yesterday, high of 34 degrees above the freezing mark, and we saw a little of that snow melt. This morning it is 30 degrees and below the freezing mark, so that melted snow now refreezing back into black ice. So there are some very slippery spots on sideways and parking lots and driveways. Anything that has been unsalted is going to be very slick early on for this morning. Now, that is going to be our biggest weather impact for today, quite simply being below freezing for a couple hours as we approach sunrise here. Tomorrow, it's more about the rain versus snow, or a wintry mix in some cases. And while I have heavier snow for Spokane than rain, it is going to be a fight or almost a battleground here in Spokane County. So we are tracking this next storm system very closely.
Let's take you live now outside with a look at your traffic impact this morning. This is I-90 in Freya. You can see right now some more vehicles out on the roadways. Of course, this is the first day back to work for some folks, as Monday was a holiday. So you may experience a little bit more traffic this morning, but overall, this is what we love about the Inland Northwest. Not any major traffic issues at this hour. So we'll keep a close eye on it though and let you know if anything changes. On Up with KREM, we bring you weather and traffic together every 30 minutes. Happening today, Spokane County Commissioners will host a hearing on public camping. KREM 2's Brandon T. Jones live near the Public Works building. So Brandon, what does this hearing mean, and do you know what will be talked about today? Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Tim. Well, for starters, that public hearing will begin at 2 p.m. today at the Public Works building, and county commissioners are expected to discuss the language and some potential changes to the county's public camping ordinance. So just to give you a little bit more context here, it's in its current state, the ordinance in place to prevent, quote, harm to the health and safety of public and promote the public health, safety, and general welfare by keeping public streets and other public property in Spokane County readily accessible to the public. The ordinance goes on to say this prevents use of public property for camping purposes, which interferes with the right of others to use the areas for which they are intended. For example, a sidewalk like the one I'm standing on right now. As some background, and stemming from the Martin v. City of Boise, the U.S. Court of Appeals put forth that cities cannot enforce anti-camping ordinances on public property if they don't have enough shelter beds. Now, the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Martin v. Boise and eliminated that requirements that space be available in shelters before anti-camping ordinances can be enforced. So today's hearing will again be open to the public and will give county commissioners the opportunity to hear public testimony before making any possible changes to the ordinance that would make wording consistent with the court's holding. 2 p.m. again is when that hearing is scheduled to begin. You can also dial in. They will have an option available for a conference call if you're not able to attend in person. But for now, reporting live here in Spokane, Brandon T. Jones, KREM 2 News.
This morning, we are getting more insight into budget challenges at Washington State University. The university is dealing with massive federal funding cuts and freezes. WSU learning it may have to halt hiring and travel, or could potentially reduce core funding. One Trump cut now on hold with slashed funding from the National Institutes of Health. WSU joined a lawsuit blocking the policy for now. The university uses NIH dollars to study Alzheimer's disease, cancer, mental health, and biomedical research. The money also supports 3 biosafety labs tasked with public safety research, including fighting the spread of avian flu. University officials believe cuts will be in the millions.
It's reasonable to predict that we're looking somewhere in the $20 to $25 million range in terms of cuts going forward.
Other presidential proposals could impact student aid. WSU students relied on more than $182 million in federal aid last fiscal year.
We just landed. Our plane crashed.
A scary sight at Toronto Pearson International Airport. Yesterday, a Delta Airlines flight crashed and came to rest upside down. Wow. The plane was arriving from Minneapolis carrying 80 people. The airport CEO confirmed there was, quote, no loss of life, crediting the airport's first responders, but 18 people were hurt, including a child. What caused the plane to flip and catch fire is still under investigation. This comes less than 3 weeks after the nation's deadliest aviation disaster in decades. An American Airlines plane and a military helicopter collided above Reagan National Airport near Washington, D.C., where 67 people died. 2 more deadly crashes also made national headlines recently. In Philadelphia, a medical jet fell out of the sky moments after takeoff, leaving 7 dead and 24 hurt. In Alaska, 10 people were killed when the single-engine plane went down just south of the Arctic Circle. The NTSB and FAA are still investigating all of these crashes. At the same time, the federal government is laying off several hundred FAA employees, and this does not include air traffic controllers. Washington Senator Maria Cantwell criticizing the Trump administration for that this morning. In a statement, she says the FAA is short-staffed by about 800 people, and the firings cause, quote, unnecessary risk into the airspace. She goes on to say, quote, the FAA's safety workforce needs to be a priority for this administration. Meanwhile, we're working to learn how many Hanford nuclear workers will get their jobs back after being let go last week. The Trump administration decided to reinstate most nuclear safety workers across the country. Washington Senator Patty Murray says many at Hanford only learned they were fired when they were locked out of their office Monday morning. She says this includes everyone from safety inspectors to cybersecurity experts and some of the newest hires.
These are often our best and brightest. They have the new technology, and this is a real safety concern at Hanford, which is a nuclear waste cleanup site. It was randomly done, just like all of the other firings that we are seeing Musk and his employees go after.
Senator Murray says she does not know how many firings were rescinded. She raised concerns that those who were fired will not come back because of the worries of being terminated later down the line.